this was an exercise that started off by sort of walking around the poles and making horses more supple by sort of using shoulder fore and travers and so forth. And then I just sort of started on making some squares, using that for a jumping exercise. And then this is actually sort of nearing on towards a bit of a diamond with open ends. And it's really, I've used it to be able to help focus the horse and myself. So sort of practicing turning the forehand, just making sure that I can turn the horse around the poles, and being able to work a bit of shoulder fore, a bit of bend, and then almost a little bit of travers. But also you can see now me pushing the horse around, pushing his bottom around with a bit of outside bend towards the poles. The reason for this is he's quite a fussy horse and doesn't really like, perhaps the attention isn't always there, shall we say. So it's a really nice way to be able to make sure I channel him towards, as I say, sort of channeling him, pushing him around rather than hopefully using too much rein, and really working on using the leg to the bridle to be able to get some bend, and not turning off the inside rein is the ideal. So I'm really thinking about pushing him around with the outside leg, and particularly when I'm trying to ride the shoulder fore here, I really want to turn him towards the inside rein, and then also riding a hint of travers and pushing his bottom around. And it just really gives me an indication of how far he is off his line or his poles, how much I'm drifting out and which way is he drifting if so. And you see I start to be able to work and change a little bit towards the outside bend and really pushing him again towards the poles. And it just seems to really work. It just seems to be able to really help focus him and relax him. And I've used this structure then to be able to help with my transitions, because walk to canter was never very good, or walk trot canter was never very good. He always tended to react off the leg and throw his head a little bit. So I use it again. You can see he's a bit slow off the leg there, but the frame's quite nice. I use it again to be able to practice turning a little bit towards the canter or into the canter, so I could turn him towards the inside rein a bit rather than him just sort of throwing his head up a little bit. So it's a really good way to be able to help him, teach him to connect. Plus, obviously, thinking about the quality of the canter. But again, I'm thinking all the time, because I lose him quite a lot out of the outside shoulder, and I find sometimes, he's not pushing to the bridle, so hence why the connection is lost. So it's really quite a nice way to be able to push him all the time to the contact, to be able to try, encourage bend by being able to, encourage connection. And then I work a little bit the left rein, and be able to work a little bit the bend to the outside sometimes, again thinking about how to be able to turn him. And this comes from him being a little bit reactive around the corners when I'm jumping him. He tends to sort of, he doesn't like using the rein too much. He doesn't like the contact. So I'm trying all the time to be able to be quite soft with my hand and just keep using gently using the leg and encouraging him to be forwards and relax. You can see I do the transitions by repetition again. So I just do it, do another one and repeat, and then see if I can get him to be able just to relax and encourage him to accept the leg a little bit and be able to push into the contact. Obviously, what I do on the left rein, I then do on the right rein. And each time I do these transitions, the first ones aren't so good. They're a little bit, he comes up a little bit. He's not too sure. He's not so confident with it. But as I keep working this exercise, then I tend to find that he gets more and more used to it and more relaxed. And I always try and be very consistent with the training and just train by repetition again and again and again. So here you can see, I really have to work at being able to push that shoulder around. He wants to fall out a little bit, but the bend is quite nice there. Again, you see my second transition is better. It's the same thing. So you repeat and you explain, and as long as you explain it clearly, the horse should understand better the second time. If perhaps they don't, and there's something perhaps the way with which we ask them, but that's why it's really important to be very consistent. And then I sort of start to think about coming on the inside of the poles, and I use this to be able to practice a transition forwards to walk. It's not very smooth, but again, it'll be work in progress.